recently participated in the Pan-Hellenic Forensics Tournament 2019, and it was one of the coolest educational experiences I've ever gotten to be a part of. For those of you who don't know, Forensics is a speech and debate tournament consisting of 6 events, and each of them is amazing and so unique in its own way. But for the purposes of this speech, I want to discuss one in particular with you: impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is an event in which each contestant is given a piece of paper with 3 prompts. They are then given 30 seconds to choose which prompt they want to use out of the 3, then a minute and a blank sheet of paper to construct a 3-minute speech, then 3 minutes to present said speech. And this event is so much fun to take part in. Using your ideas and finding the ways for them to flow is an absolutely fascinating thing. But I think my favorite part might be what comes afterward. I would go back to the ACS practice room, and all the other girls in impromptu would find me, and we'd ask each other how we went and hug each other if we said, yes, really good, or hug each other anyway if we said, not too good. But I think the most fun part of this part was not necessarily the conversations that we had about our own speeches, but instead when we sat down and talked about the other speeches in our room. There were a variety of speeches that came up like this. One girl told us, there was a boy who came to sit in the front of my room who just went up there and said, there are a lot of things that are red, like fire trucks. Women wear red lipstick and mascara. And I can't think of anything else, so I'm going to sit down. After he said that, we would all groan and say, oh no, poor thing, as if we were trying to make ourselves feel better about our own speeches. And as we were sitting there and discussing all sorts of different speeches that happened, one girl went up and talked for 3 minutes about how much of an annoying little prick she was, and another boy went up and went off onto a strange rant about trains. I sat there as we were picking apart yet another poorly constructed speech and thought, hey, this kind of connects to my TED topic. Because when we're talking about speeches that people give, after all we're talking about is ideas. And as I sat there and thought about it even more, I started to wonder, did we really have a right to be doing this? Did we have a right to be sitting at a speech competition and taking speeches and holding them up and saying, this one's good and this one's bad and this one's just plain cliched? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. What is an idea? What makes an idea truly an idea? What makes it valuable and what makes it good or bad or just plain cliched? Recently, I watched a video titled How to Not Be Boring, which sounds like a pretty sad video to watch, but it was absolutely fascinating. Its thesis: it is never possible to be completely boring as long as what you're saying is simply communicating what it's like to exist as you. You don't know what it's like to exist as me, and I don't know what it's like to exist as you. So if we were to sit down and have a conversation, we would be able to see things in an entirely new way because we have only ever known what it's like to exist as us. And that's amazing. We need to recognize that our existence is valuable and that just the fact that we have a capability of communicating it is an amazing thing in and of itself. Coming out of our impromptu, one of the ACS coaches who was judging an impromptu session sat down and talked to us about one girl who had gone up, cited what her prompt was, given a few second introduction from her prompt into a speech about Instagram, and then proceeded to talk about Instagram for 3 minutes when it wasn't really related to her prompt in general. The teacher told us that this actually happens a lot. Coaches will give their students cookie-cutter speeches and just teach them how to connect them to the prompt. And as she told us about that, I sat there and I thought, that's really sad. This girl wasn't going up there and interacting with the prompt and trying to figure out how she views it. She was just going up there and figuring out how to say a speech that had already been manufactured, as if she was just holding up an item instead of holding up a bit of herself. And that thought led me into another thought about a lot of things that we talked about a lot about different speeches, our own and other people's speeches, is about the originality of speeches. I feel like every few minutes I would hear somebody at the speech tournament saying, I tried to take a different spin on things, or that was really cliched. And it got me thinking, what is original and what is taking a different spin on things and what is doing something that's simply cliched? And I looked up the definitions for these two things. Something that is cliched is a sentence or phrase, usually expressing a popular or common opinion, that the meaning has changed to become Cliched is something, a sentence or phrase, usually expressing a popular opinion or a common thought that has lost originality, ingenuity, and impact by long overuse. And originality is something that has arisen or proceeded independently of anything else. And it seems like these two things would be a mile apart, like an original speech would be so far away from a cliched one. But as I'm interacting with these ideas, I'm finding that the differences aren't really as clear as you'd think that they would be. There was one boy in my impromptu session who went up and chose the prompt, "It's not too late." Later, after talking with the other girls on my team, I found out that nearly every single contestant in all of their rooms had chosen the prompt, "It's not too late." And each one of them proceeded to say things about, it's not too late to start again, it's not too late to try something new, it's not too late to be a new person. But this boy took a very different route. He went up there and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you today that it is too late." He continued telling us in that speech about how it is too late once you've broken your mother's vase to get it fixed. And it is too late to fix somebody's nose once you've punched them and broken it. There is a point to which it is too late. And he concluded by saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to remember that it's never too late to remember that in a minute it will be too late." He finished that speech and I sat there and I thought about what he'd said and I said, wow, that's so original. No one else would have said anything like that. But now that I go back and think about it, I'm wondering, did his speech really arise or proceed independently of anything else? To me, it seems as if this boy sat down and looked at the topic, "It's not too late," and said, okay, I know what everyone else is going to say, so I'm going to say the thing that's entirely the opposite. Is that truly originality? Is that truly something that's arisen independently, or is it something that just arose because it existed in parallel of what most other people would say? But then again, I don't think that's the real question that we're asking here. Does it truly matter if this boy's speech was original or cliched? Or does it truly matter if it was brilliant and if the way that he did it was beautiful? I think that's the key. I think we as a society, as an educational institution, as individuals, put way too much importance on originality. Think back to ancient Greece. Think back to the dithyrambs where people, huge throngs of worshippers would gather and dance in circles and sing praises to the god. They formed the ancient Greek chorus, all singing voices and choruses in unison. But most people think that individual thought was first simulated through the invention of theater with Thespis, where a man stepped out of the dithyramb and began communicating with the people in the circle, going back and forth and responding to the voices that they were already saying. But what would this individual man, the first man to simulate individual thought, what would he have been without the rest of the chorus responding to him? In this chorus, there were high-low voices, and there were low voices, and there were voices that were just slightly off tune, but those voices meant something too. Those voices said something too. The Greek chorus taught an entire civilization how to find meaning in what they said and what they heard and in what they saw. And their voices have echoed throughout the centuries, and I don't think anyone has ever thought to consider the Greek chorus as unoriginal or cliched. I think that's what's so cool about events like this, about things like TED, is that you can go up in front of an audience and say, here's a piece of me, look at this. It doesn't matter if it's completely non-original, but it's something that you truly believe in. And if it is really truly something you believe in, then that's going to take on an originality of its own. So you don't need to worry about that. The Greek chorus just existed. They simply shared the ideas that mattered to them, and that really, truly mattered. That's what we're doing here. That's what we do as a TED Ed club. We go up and we say, here are our ideas. We want to share them with you. We want you to see them. And in anything that we do, this should be exactly what we're doing. Whether painting or dancing or singing or acting, we need to go up there and say, this is a piece of me. I'd like you to see it. Thank you.